evening, everyone. This is the Money Show right here on ET Now, and of course, we are celebrating International Women's Day, the 8th of March. Now, as often goes the saying, we really don't need, ladies, just one day to celebrate this day. But hey, why not use it as an excuse to display the magnificent achievements of some outstanding women in all stages of life who have managed to make their mark, their inspiring excellence, and not just broken but crush the glass ceiling. And today we have with us two such lovely ladies, Radhika Gupta, the Chief Executive Officer of Edelweiss Asset Management, and Aditi Kothari Desai, the Director and Head of Sales and Marketing with DSP Investment Managers. Good evening, ladies. It's a pleasure having you with us on board. Radhika Gupta, over to you. Just to give our viewers, by the way, an interesting story about Radhika. Imagine at 25 leaving a very cushy job on Wall Street to head home to India, start your fund management business, and of course become the CEO of Edelweiss Asset Management. Radhika, quite a tough decision, I must say, but what really prompted you to get back to home base?
I think just the desire. I mean, India is a great country. There's just so much happening in financial services, and I think mutual funds, asset management, it's a great opportunity. Combined with that, I think the opportunity to start a business at a very, very young age seemed very exciting. You know, and as you say, I mean, there's a saying, entrepreneurship is about being hungry and foolish. I think it was a little bit of that as well.
That it was. And we also have with us Aditi Kothari Desai. Aditi, by the way, is the daughter of Himendra Kothari of DSP BlackRock, and instead of hogging the top job at her father's company, she decided to climb the corporate ladder step by step, and she moved from being the head of channel in retail sales to now the Executive Vice President and Head of Sales and Marketing. Aditi, let's start off this conversation on Women's Day with you on understanding, as per you, why do you think it's important for women to be financially empowered?
Today, times are changing. More women are working. More women are inheriting money. Everything's not just going to the sons. So even, you know, the daughters are inheriting some money. Unfortunately, more women are getting divorced. So if you put all of that together, there is a need today for women to learn the basics of investing, so that, and no one's asking them to become experts at it. You know, where I'm just telling you, learn to drive a car. I'm not asking you to become a car mechanic and to understand how the intricacies of the engine work. But they all need to understand, you know, how to guide their financial advisor, and the fact that they should have a financial advisor. Also remember, women these days, if they're career minded, they all want to take breaks when they have kids. But they are so used to getting an income that they want some passive income when they take a break. So that's the other reason, you know, especially women need to invest. And I would say the last very important reason is in life insurance, because that has penetrated a lot now, and usually it's women that are the beneficiaries of a life insurance policy, because statistically women outlive men. So I would say all these reasons, coupled with the fact that just, you know, financial independence makes a, you know, a truly financially independent woman must also invest her own money, because only then will she not just be earning her money, she'll be owning her money.
Well, no word truer than that. Radhika, you know, while we do talk about financial independence for women, etc., it's still a known fact that a lot of women do tend to turn their head away from matters of money, matters of finance, or numbers for that matter, simply because perhaps they lack that confidence, or they do have disbelief in themselves that they may not be able to handle the money. I mean, you, for one, did come from a non-financial services background. Nobody in your family, I understand, is in this background. So how do you essentially change the outlook that women have, or you could call it a prejudice against anything to do with finance?
You know, I agree, and by the way, I come from a non-corporate background. My parents were in government and teaching. But you know, there's a myth that women have that to be good at investments, you know, to be good at managing money, you need to talk stocks all the time, or you need to be super sharp about the stock market, and you need to know what's going on in the Nifty or the Sensex or the economy. Actually, investing is a lot more about behavior and discipline and emotions than it is about knowing all this technical, complex sounding stuff. I mean, what are the qualities that you need to have to be a good investor of your own money? You need to be disciplined. you need to be goal-oriented, and you need to know how to not go overboard. What we talk about vis-a-vis risk, you need to not know how to go overboard. I think these three qualities, women have them. So know that you have these qualities, and know that, you know, if you're smart enough to build a career and you work hard to earn money, you're definitely smart enough to invest it. It's not that hard. It's much easier than managing your career and home at the same time.
Yeah, in fact, interestingly, Radhika, that's the next question I want to pose. The other big thing about balancing, you know, okay, women have their jobs to balance, their careers to balance, their home lives to balance, and then you throw in one more picture into the mix, securing your financial future, or, you know, investing in equities or mutual funds. And that's as well something that I think does spook a lot of women. So is it really, I mean, it is time consuming, no doubt, but is it really that time consuming that women should actually stay away from it because they simply don't have the time?
Actually, you know, the easiest answer to this, I believe, is that you have very good financial advisors out there. So while it's important to get financially savvy and know the basics of tax savings and what are equities and what are bonds, and spend the time reading up on that, take that 1 hour on the weekend to read up on that, it's actually kind of interesting. But for the details, work with a financial advisor, and once you're financially literate, then you can have very evolved conversations with a good financial advisor. By the way, I meet a lot of great women financial advisors out there. It's not to say that as a woman you need a woman financial advisor, but I meet some great women financial advisors who I think will handhold you through this process very nicely.
Well, Radhika, you certainly are, for one, an inspiration for a lot of women wanting to enter the financial services field. Okay, Aditi, let's talk about the Winvestor initiative. You know, it's something that you have taken charge of back at DSP. So tell us first up, what's it about? I mean, I know it's about self-educating. It's about, as a woman, what should a woman be doing to educate herself when it comes to financial planning? So what exactly does Winvestor do in this case?
So women is really, Winvestor is really about sort of raising the awareness of why women should make their own investment decisions. Where the learning is concerned, I don't think a man that is new to this, or a woman that has never invested, I think they're on the same plane, just as you have co-ed schools. Therefore, DSP has a site called www.dspim/learn. And that site is very crucial. It has different modules, and I think that's very important for a beginner, whether you're a woman or a man, where you can start understanding what investments are. And actually that site has, they have modules for beginners, for intermediates, and for advanced investors, if that's where they feel they are. So really, I don't think we need to differentiate the education as much as we need to sort of differentiate the awareness. At the same time, sometimes if there are enough people and a quorum, we have been doing certain classes in my office, only for women. So I think that's really, what Winvestor has been doing is, as I said, awareness with education more on the digital side. But this is all part of the Winvestor initiative. Winvestor initiative also believes that women advisors, should be encouraged, because we don't have that many women advisors, and I really feel that women investors feel comfortable with women advisors because women are good at listening. I feel women investors, get tired of jargon or get confused or get intimidated by, the jargon, and I think women advisors are empathetic to that fact. So the way they connect is deeper with a woman investor, which is why one part of the Winvestor is also to encourage women advisors, and then pair up women investors with women advisors. So that's a very important part of it. The other part of it is that we go to corporates. We've gone to, say, over 110 different corporates at least, and we talk to their women employees. Actually, we talk to men and women, but we do special sessions also for women employees in those corporates. And these are working women, so we explain to them the importance of why they need to start taking charge of their investments, and explain different concepts to them and pair them with advisors. So all of this is sort of fits into the realm of investor education that actually SEBI mandates us to do.
Right. Right. Okay, you know what, Radhika and Aditi, I just have to take a very short break right here on the show. But, you know, we've been getting a lot of questions and queries from ladies who are all interested in the world of finance. So stay tuned. We're going to get those questions and queries answered with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Women's Day special edition on The Money Show, where we are joined by two very special ladies in the financial services space, Radhika Gupta as well as Aditi Kothari Desai. And of course, we've been getting lots and lots of questions from women all over the country. But Radhika, before I get to that, I must ask you about the challenges of being an entrepreneur, woman entrepreneur in India, and that too when you started it, which was I think early 2000s, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm sure it must have been quite a challenging task, and I think at the end of it quite a satisfying one as well.
No, I think entrepreneurship, whether you're a man or woman, is hugely satisfying, and I wish everyone has the chance to experience it. It teaches you just so much about hustling and getting a business going, and about grit and persistence and all those things that we talk about. I think as far as women entrepreneurship comes, it's tough. It's as tough, honestly, as being an employee in financial services, where the majority of the world is men. But I do think that women entrepreneurs bring a lot to the table. And, you know, if you're reasonably determined about what you want to do, whether in the workplace or as an entrepreneur, I don't think your gender can hold you back. So you always have to remember that, you know, there will be the day-to-day problems, and there'll be days where you feel terribly frustrated. I often tell women entrepreneurs, you know, go seek mentors and other women who've done it and been there. That can be very, very inspirational. So just hearing those stories, listening to them, getting a support group, and then just holding on. Entrepreneurship, man or woman, is about holding on.
Well, I know for a fact that a lot of women do consider you guys as their mentors or as their role models. So we've got a lot of questions for you. And the very first question, I'm going to get that on board. It's from Sudeshna Saha. She is 30 years old. She is working currently, and she's a first-time investor. Now, she says that just about 3 years ago, she had started an SIP of 5,000 rupees. I think it's 5,000 rupees per fund. So in all, she's investing around 25,000 rupees. Now, there's large cap funds, there's small cap funds, there's multi-cap funds, there's mid-cap funds. It's I think an entire basket of a lot of funds. I think this brings us to the point, Radhika, of diversification. How important is it, you know, to have that in, you know, that little recipe or all the ingredients essentially of investing in your portfolio?
So look, everybody's portfolio should have a good asset allocation mix. That means you should have some equity, you should have some debt, and within equity, you know, most people should probably have a multi-cap fund, which is the core of their portfolio, and maybe a little bit of exposure to mid and small cap if they do have the risk appetite. The one thing I would caution, I don't know the number of funds that she has, is diversification doesn't mean that you hold 10, 15, 20 schemes in your portfolio. You know, if you're investing in equity, mostly for most people, 3, 4, 5 schemes at best will do your needs, because if you hold too many funds, essentially you're going to hold the market, and it will be very hard to beat the market if you're holding those funds. And by the way, coming to the shortage of time thing that we discussed earlier, the more funds you have and the more complex you make investing, the harder it is to track. So while you have to diversify across asset classes, make sure you don't diversify into too many funds.
All right. Points taken. Yes, fewer number of funds is actually something easier to handle as well, no doubt. Okay, we have Vedika Gosavi who has sent in her question. Now, Vedika asks, are mutual funds a safe mode of investment? I'm sure, Radhika, you've been asked this question plenty of times, and it's a question that has actually been on the minds of a lot of investors we as well interact with, or prospective investors. So, Radhika, how would you assuage all of these concerns?
So mutual funds are a safe, highly regulated and transparent mode of investment. They are well regulated by SEBI, which has wonderful norms for investor protection. So I think you should be rest assured of that. Now, when people think safe, they often think, you know, I'm not going to lose my capital. that is not true. Every investment carries risk. In fact, the purpose of investments is to suit the fund that has the right risk profile for you. So that means you could be at risk of losing capital. If you invest in a very short duration conservative fixed income fund, like a liquid fund for instance, the probability that you lose capital is very, very, very slim to nil. If you invest in the other extreme, which is a small cap fund, the probability that you will lose capital, especially over a small period, short period, could be reasonably high. So mutual funds are safe and regulated as investment vehicles. Within mutual funds, there's a whole range of funds that take different kinds of capital risks. Make sure you work with an advisor to choose the fund that is suited for your risk profile, and this will be a lot more comfortable.
Okay, we're still getting a lot of queries, but unfortunately time constraints, commercial obligations, so unfortunately we'll have to wrap it up right here. Radhika and Aditi, it was a pleasure interacting with you guys. Thanks so much, and of course keep inspiring other women as well in their careers, in their personal lives, or every stage of life. With that, we'll wrap it up on this edition of the show, and of course wishing all the lovely ladies out there a very happy Women's Day.